My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a teacher at Lincoln Elementary School, and up until 3 days ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I thought I knew everything about my husband, David. I thought our 7 years of marriage were built on trust and love. I was wrong about everything. But let me start with the worst day of my life. The funeral home smelled like flowers and sadness. I sat in the front row, wearing a black dress that David had bought me for our anniversary last year. My hands were shaking as I held a tissue that was already wet from my tears. David's casket was right in front of me. It was closed. The car accident had been too terrible. The police said he died instantly when his car went off the bridge. They said he didn't suffer. But I was suffering enough for both of us. Around me, people were crying. David's mother sat on my left, holding my hand so tight it hurt. My best friend, Jenny, sat on my right, rubbing my back. The room was full of people. Family, friends, people from David's work, neighbors. Everyone loved David. Everyone thought he was perfect. The priest was talking about David's life, about how he was a good man, a loving husband, a hard worker. I tried to listen, but the words felt like they were coming from underwater. Nothing felt real. How could David be gone? Just 4 days ago, he had kissed me goodbye before leaving for work. Just 4 days ago, he had told me he loved me. My phone buzzed in my purse. I almost ignored it. Who sends a text message during a funeral? But something made me look. Maybe it was because I needed a distraction from the pain. Maybe it was because I couldn't stand to hear one more person talk about how wonderful David was when he was never coming back. I pulled my phone out quietly and looked at the screen. The number was unknown. I opened the message. What I read made my heart stop. I wanted to surprise my husband at his company. At the entrance I learned that he has a wife. I stared at the words. I read them again. And again. My hands started shaking worse than before. The phone almost fell from my fingers. I felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Jenny noticed. Sarah, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I just showed her the phone. Jenny read the message. Her face went white. What is this? Is this some kind of sick joke? I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore. David's mother leaned over. What's wrong? I turned off my phone and put it away. Nothing, I whispered. It's nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. My whole world was breaking apart, and we hadn't even buried my husband yet. Let me go back to the beginning. Let me tell you how I got here. 10 days ago, everything was normal. Better than normal, actually. It was a Saturday morning, and David and I were having breakfast together in our small kitchen. Sunlight came through the window, making everything look golden and perfect. I made pancakes, David said, putting a plate in front of me. He was smiling that smile I had fallen in love with 7 years ago. His brown hair was messy from sleep, and he was wearing the old college t-shirt I kept trying to throw away. You're the best, I said, pouring syrup on my pancakes. What would I do without you? You'll never have to find out, he said, kissing the top of my head. We ate breakfast and talked about our plans for the day. I needed to go grocery shopping. David said he had to go into the office for a few hours to finish a big project. On a Saturday? I asked. Again. David worked as a manager at a tech company called Innovate Solutions. For the past 3 months, he had been working a lot of extra hours. Weekends, late nights, sometimes even missing dinner. I know, he said, looking guilty. But this project is almost done. Just a few more weeks, and then things will go back to normal. I promise. You've been saying that for a while, I said. But I smiled to show I wasn't really mad. I just miss spending time with you. I miss you too, he said. He reached across the table and took my hand. Tell you what, when this project is over, let's take a vacation. Just you and me. Somewhere with a beach. Really? I felt excited. We hadn't taken a real vacation in 2 years. Really? I'll book it myself. You deserve it for being so patient with me. I got up and hugged him. I love you, David. I love you too, Sarah. More than anything. He left for work an hour later. I watched him drive away in his blue sedan, waving from the doorway. I had no idea that would be one of the last normal moments of my life. The next few days were normal too. David went to work. I went to school and taught my 3rd grade class. We had dinner together most nights, though sometimes David came home late and said he had grabbed something at the office. On Tuesday, I noticed something strange. I was doing laundry and found a receipt in David's pants pocket. It was from a restaurant called Marco's, an expensive Italian place downtown. The receipt was from last Friday night, and it was for 2 people. 2 steaks, 2 glasses of wine, chocolate cake for dessert. I thought back to last Friday. David had said he was working late. He came home at 9 o'clock and said he had eaten at his desk. My stomach felt tight. Why would he lie about dinner? I told myself there was a good explanation. Maybe he had a business dinner and forgot to mention it. Maybe the receipt was old, from a different week. I didn't want to be the kind of wife who didn't trust her husband. But that night, when David came home, I asked him about it. Hey, I found a receipt from Marco's in your pocket. Did you have a business dinner last week? David's face changed for just a second. It was so quick I almost missed it. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. But then he smiled. Oh yeah, that. Sorry, I forgot to mention it. I took a client out for dinner. The one from the big project I've been working on. Oh, I said. That makes sense. I was just confused because you said you worked late that night. I did work late. Dinner was part of work. He kissed my cheek. Don't worry so much, honey. Everything's fine. I wanted to believe him. I tried to believe him. But something felt wrong. On Thursday, I decided to do something I had never done before. Something I felt guilty about even thinking about. I was going to check David's phone. I waited until he was in the shower. His phone was charging on the kitchen counter. My heart was beating so fast as I picked it up. I felt like a criminal. I knew his passcode, 0724, my birthday. He had never hidden it from me. That had to mean something, right? If he had secrets, he would have changed his passcode. The phone unlocked. I went straight to his messages. Most of them were normal. Messages from his mom, from his friends, from coworkers. Nothing suspicious. Then I saw a message from someone saved in his phone as J. Parker, client. The last message was from that morning. Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you so much. David had replied. Miss you too. See you at 7. I felt sick. Clients don't send messages like that. That wasn't a business relationship. I scrolled up to see more messages. There were hundreds of them, going back months. They were deleted regularly, but the recent ones were all there. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. When can we see each other again? And David's replies were just as bad. You make me so happy. I wish I could be with you all the time. Soon. I promise. Things will change soon. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Tears were running down my face. I heard the shower turn off. I quickly closed the messages and put the phone back exactly where it had been. David came out a few minutes later, wearing his bathrobe, his hair wet. You okay? He asked, looking at my face. You look upset. I'm fine, I lied. Just thinking about one of my students. She's having a hard time at home. David hugged me. You care so much about your kids. That's one of the things I love about you. I hugged him back, but inside I felt like I was dying. How could he lie so easily? How could he hold me and tell me he loved me when he was, I couldn't even think the word. Cheating. David was cheating on me. That night, David said he had to work late again. He left the house at 6:30. I waited exactly 5 minutes. Then I grabbed my car keys and followed him. I had never followed anyone before. I felt crazy doing it. But I had to know the truth. David didn't go to his office. He drove to a nice neighborhood on the other side of town, the kind of neighborhood with big houses and perfect lawns. He pulled into the driveway of a beautiful white house with blue shutters. I parked down the street where he wouldn't see me. A woman came out of the house. She was beautiful. Long dark hair, tall, wearing a pretty dress. She smiled when she saw David. He got out of his car and hugged her. Not a friendly hug. A romantic hug. The kind of hug you give someone you love. Then he kissed her. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to drive away. I wanted to storm over there and scream at both of them. But I just sat in my car, crying, watching my husband kiss another woman in front of her house. They went inside together. I waited for an hour, but David didn't come out. Finally, I drove home. I cried the whole way. When David came home at 10 o'clock, smiling and saying his meeting had run late, I said nothing. I just went to bed and pretended to be asleep when he got in beside me. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront him? Should I call a lawyer? Should I tell his family? I decided to wait. I decided to gather more information. I needed to know everything before I made any decisions. But I never got the chance. The next night was Friday. David came home from work at his normal time, 6 o'clock. He seemed happy, relaxed. He ordered pizza for dinner and we watched a movie together on the couch. I'm glad we get to spend tonight together, I said. Part of me wanted to scream at him, to tell him I knew everything. But another part of me wanted to pretend, just for one more night, that everything was okay. Me too, David said. He put his arm around me. You know I love you, right? I know, I said. But I didn't know anything anymore. At 8 o'clock, David's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face changed. I have to take this, he said, getting up and going into the kitchen. I heard him talking in a low voice, but I couldn't make out the words. When he came back, he looked worried. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, it's just, something came up at work. An emergency. I need to go deal with it. Another lie. I wondered if he was going to see her again. Now. It's Friday night. I know I'm sorry. But it's important. I'll be back as soon as I can. He grabbed his keys and jacket. At the door, he turned back. Sarah. I really do love you. I hope you know that. Something about the way he said it made me feel cold. Like he was saying goodbye. I love you too, I said. He left. I heard his car start, heard him drive away. That was the last time I saw my husband alive. At midnight, the police knocked on my door. Mrs. Mitchell? Yes. There's been an accident. The rest of that night was a blur. The hospital. The doctor's sad face. The words, I'm so sorry for your loss. David's body, covered with a white sheet. His mother screaming. Me, standing there, too shocked to cry. David's car had gone off Riverside Bridge at high speed. The police said maybe he was going too fast, maybe he was distracted, maybe there was something wrong with the car. They said they would investigate. They said these things happen. But all I could think was, where was he going? Was he going to see her? Did she know he was dead? The next 3 days were a nightmare. Planning the funeral, calling people, accepting casseroles from neighbors who didn't know what else to do. David's mother couldn't stop crying. My parents flew in from Ohio. Everyone kept telling me how sorry they were, how David was such a good man, how unfair life was. If only they knew the truth. And then came the funeral. The flowers. The people. The priest talking about David's wonderful life. And then the text message that changed everything. I wanted to surprise my husband at his company. At the entrance I learned that he has a wife. I stared at my phone in my purse. The funeral was ending. People were standing up, coming to hug me, to say they were sorry. But I barely noticed them. Who had sent that message? Was it her? The woman I had seen David kiss? Was she saying that David was her husband? That I was the other woman? That couldn't be right. David and I were married. I had the marriage certificate. I had the photos from our wedding. I had 7 years of memories. But then, why would she say that? My mind was spinning. Nothing made sense. Jenny drove me home after the funeral. David's mother wanted to come with us, but I told her I needed to be alone. I needed to think. As soon as I got home, I looked at the message again. I wanted to surprise my husband at his company. At the entrance I learned that he has a wife. There was no other text. No explanation. Just that one sentence. I typed back with shaking fingers. Who is this? I waited. The minutes felt like hours. And then my phone buzzed with a reply. What I read next made my whole body go cold. My name is Emma. Emma Mitchell. And David was my husband. We've been married for 9 years. I read the message 3 times before it started to feel real. My name is Emma. Emma Mitchell. And David was my husband. We've been married for 9 years. Emma Mitchell. She had the same last name as me. The same last name as David. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I sat down on my couch, still wearing my black funeral dress, and stared at my phone. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a joke. A cruel, terrible joke. But deep down, I knew it wasn't a joke. I typed back, "That's impossible. I'm married to David. We've been married for 7 years." The reply came quickly. "Can we meet? I think we need to talk. There's a coffee shop called Bella's on Main Street. Can you be there in an hour?" I looked at the clock. It was 2 in the afternoon. The funeral had ended an hour ago. I was exhausted. I was broken. But I needed answers. "I'll be there," I typed. I changed out of my funeral dress and put on jeans and a sweater. I washed my face, but my eyes were still red and puffy from crying. I looked terrible, but I didn't care. Jenny called while I was getting ready. "Sarah, are you okay? You seemed really upset at the funeral. More upset than..." "I mean, of course you're upset, but..." "I got another message from that woman," I said. "What? What did it say?" "She says her name is Emma Mitchell. She says David was her husband. For 9 years. Jenny was quiet for a moment. "Sarah, that's crazy. David couldn't have been married to someone else. You would have known." "Would I?" I asked. "He was lying about everything else. He was cheating on me. Maybe he was lying about this too." "Where are you going?" "To meet her. At Bella's coffee shop. In an hour." "I'm coming with you," Jenny said immediately. "No. I need to do this alone." "Sarah. Please, Jenny. I need to handle this by myself." Jenny finally agreed, but she made me promise to call her as soon as the meeting was over. Bella's coffee shop was a small, cozy place with wooden tables and the smell of fresh coffee. On any other day, I would have loved it. But today, I felt sick as I walked through the door. I looked around. The shop wasn't very crowded. A few people working on laptops. An old couple sharing a muffin. And in the corner, a woman sitting alone at a table. I knew it was her immediately. She was the woman I had seen David kiss. The woman with long dark hair. She was wearing black too, and her eyes were red from crying. When she saw me, she stood up. "Sarah?" she asked. "Emma." We stared at each other. I didn't know what to say. "What do you say to the woman who claims to be married to your dead husband?" "Thank you for coming," Emma said quietly. Please, sit down. I sat down across from her. Up close, I could see that she was about my age, maybe a little older. She was beautiful, but she looked as broken as I felt. I don't understand what's happening, I said. David was my husband. We got married 7 years ago. We have a house together. A life together. How can you say he was your husband? Emma reached into her purse and pulled out a piece of paper. She unfolded it and slid it across the table. It was a marriage certificate. Emma Louise Parker and David James Mitchell. Married 9 years ago in the state of New York. I felt like I was going to throw up. That can't be real, I whispered. It's real, Emma said. Her voice was shaking. I have our wedding photos too, if you want to see them. I have everything. But how? I'm married to him. I have a marriage certificate too. Emma's face went pale. Can I see it? I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of my marriage certificate. I kept a digital copy of all our important documents. Sarah and Wilson and David James Mitchell. Married 7 years ago in the state of California. Emma stared at the photo. Tears started running down her face. He married both of us, she whispered. He was married to both of us at the same time. The room started to spin. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. That's illegal, I said. That's bigamy. That's a crime. I know, Emma said. She was crying harder now. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe David would do this. We sat there for a moment, both of us crying in the middle of a coffee shop. People were starting to stare, but I didn't care. Finally, I wiped my eyes and looked at Emma. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Emma took a deep breath. I met David 10 years ago in New York. I was working as a nurse at a hospital, and he came in with his friend who had broken his arm. We started talking, and he asked me out for coffee. We dated for a year, and then he proposed. It was the happiest day of my life. Her voice broke, but she kept going. We got married in a small ceremony. Just our families and close friends. David worked for a tech company in New York. Everything was perfect for the first 2 years. But then David said his company wanted to send him to California to open a new office. He said it would only be for a few months at first, just to get things started. Then he would come back to New York, or maybe I could move to California with him. I felt cold. I knew where this was going. He left for California 7.5 years ago, Emma continued. At first, he came back to visit every few weeks. Then it became once a month. Then every few months. He always said the project was taking longer than expected. He said he was working so hard to make things perfect so we could finally be together again. But he never came back, I said quietly. He did come back. Just not to stay. He would visit for a few days at a time. We would spend time together, and then he would go back to California. He said he was living in a small apartment near his office, working all the time. He sent me money every month for our house in New York. He called me almost every day. I thought. She started crying again. I thought he was just a dedicated worker. I thought he was sacrificing for us. When did you find out about me? I asked. Emma wiped her eyes. Yesterday. The day before the funeral. David's phone was recovered from the accident. The police gave it to me because I'm listed as his wife in his emergency contacts. When I went through his phone, I found messages. Messages to you. Messages to other people about you. Photos of you. I saw that he had a whole other life in California. Did you know he was in California when he died? I asked. Emma nodded. He told me he was going to California for work. He left New York last Monday. He said he would be back in a week. But then the police called me on Friday night and told me he was dead. They said the accident happened in California. I was so confused. I thought he died while he was at work. But then I found out. I found out he lived there. With you. My head was spinning. Wait. He was with you last week? In New York? Yes. He came home the weekend before last. We spent the whole weekend together. He left on Monday morning. But that was impossible. David was with me that weekend. We had breakfast together on Saturday. We watched a movie on Friday night. He couldn't have been in New York. Unless. What days exactly? I asked. He arrived Friday afternoon and left Monday morning, Emma said. That can't be right. He was with me Friday night. We had dinner together. Emma pulled out her phone. I have photos. Look. She showed me a picture of David and her at a restaurant. The date stamp said Friday night. The same Friday night David had been with me. How is that possible? I whispered. Emma looked at the photo more carefully. Wait. This restaurant is in New York. I took this photo at 6 o'clock. What time was David with you? He came home from work at 6. California time. We both realized it at the same time. California was 3 hours behind New York. When Emma was having dinner with David at 6 o'clock in New York, it was only 3 o'clock in California. David could have had dinner with Emma, then taken a late flight to California, and been home by 6 o'clock California time. He flew back and forth, I said. He was living 2 lives. Literally. But how? Emma asked. How did he have time for all that? How did he afford it? I don't know. But we need to find out. Emma and I sat in that coffee shop for 2 more hours. We compared our lives with David. The more we talked, the more horrible it became. David told Emma he worked for a tech company in New York, but was temporarily in California. He told me he worked for a tech company in California. We looked up his company, Innovate Solutions. It had offices in both New York and California. When David was working late in California, he was sometimes actually in New York with Emma. When he was visiting clients in New York, he was sometimes actually in California with me. He celebrated his birthday with both of us. On different days. He celebrated Christmas with Emma 1 year, then flew to California and celebrated it again with me 2 days later, saying he had been visiting his mother. His mother, who lived in California. Emma had never met David's mother. David told Emma that his mother had died when he was young. That's not true, I said. His mother is alive. She was at the funeral today. The funeral I wasn't invited to, Emma said bitterly. Because no one knew I existed. Everything was a lie. Every single thing. Did you ever think something was wrong? I asked Emma. She shook her head. I mean, I missed him. I wished he was home more. But I trusted him. He was so good at calling me every day, at making me feel loved even when we were apart. I never suspected he was lying about anything. I understood. I had felt the same way. Even when I found the receipt, even when I saw the messages on his phone, part of me wanted to believe David had a good explanation. I found out he was cheating a few days before he died, I admitted. I followed him to a house. I saw him kiss a woman. Emma's face went white. What woman? What house? A white house with blue shutters. The woman had long dark hair. I trailed off as I looked at Emma's long dark hair. That was me, Emma whispered. That was my house. Our house. David and I bought it together when we got married. So when I thought David was cheating on me, he was actually just visiting his other wife. The wife he had married first. The wife he had never divorced. Which meant that my marriage to David wasn't even legal. I wasn't really his wife. I was... what? His girlfriend? His mistress? I'm so sorry, Emma said, seeing the look on my face. I didn't know about you. If I had known. It's not your fault, I said. This is all David's fault. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma said something that made everything even worse. Sarah, I need to tell you something else. Something I found out yesterday when I was going through David's things. What? David had a life insurance policy. A big one. $2 million. Okay. I'm listed as the beneficiary. As his wife. But if your marriage certificate is real, even if it's not legal, it might complicate things. The insurance company might not pay out if they find out David was married to 2 people. I hadn't even thought about money. I didn't care about money right now. But that's not the worst part, Emma continued. She pulled another piece of paper from her purse. I found this in David's home office in New York. I think you need to see it. She handed me the paper. It was an email, printed out. From David's account to someone named Richard Lopez. The date was 2 weeks ago. The email said, "Everything is set. I'll have the money by the end of the month, and then I'm disappearing. Neither of them will ever find me. Fresh start, new identity, just like we planned." I read it 3 times. What does this mean? I asked, but I already knew. I think David was planning to leave both of us, Emma said quietly. I think he was planning to fake his death or just disappear. Take all the money and start a new life somewhere else. But he died for real, I said. Yes. Before he could run away. I thought about that last night with David. The way he had looked at me. The way he said, "I really do love you. I hope you know that." Like he was saying goodbye. Had he been planning to leave that night? Had the accident stopped him? Who is Richard Lopez? I asked. I don't know. I've never heard David mention that name. But I think we need to find out. I nodded. Then another thought occurred to me. Emma, if David was planning to disappear, what if the accident wasn't an accident? Emma stared at me. What if someone killed him? I whispered. We decided to go to the police together. We needed to report everything. The bigamy, the suspicious email, all of it. But as we were leaving the coffee shop, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hello. Is this Sarah Mitchell? Yes. Who is this? My name is Detective Rachel Chen. I'm investigating the death of David Mitchell. I need you to come to the police station immediately. We've found something important about your husband's accident. My heart started pounding. What did you find? I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come now? Yes. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and looked at Emma. The police want to see me. They found something about David's accident. I'm coming with you, Emma said. We drove to the police station in my car. Neither of us spoke. We were both too scared to imagine what the police had found. When we got there, Detective Chen was waiting for us. She was a tall woman with short black hair and serious eyes. When she saw both of us, she looked confused. I'm sorry, I called for Sarah Mitchell. Who are you? I'm Emma Mitchell, Emma said. I'm also David Mitchell's wife. Detective Chen's eyes widened. Both of you are married to David Mitchell? It's complicated, I said. We just found out about each other. But please, tell us what you found. What happened to David? Detective Chen led us to a small room and closed the door. She sat down across from us and opened a file folder. Mrs. Mitchell, both of you, I suppose. I need to tell you something about your husband's accident. Our investigation has revealed something troubling. What is it? I asked. Detective Chen pulled out a photo and slid it across the table. It showed David's car, or what was left of it, at the bottom of the ravine. We examined the vehicle carefully. We found evidence that the brake lines had been cut. Not completely severed, but damaged enough that the brakes would fail eventually. Your husband didn't lose control of his car. His brakes stopped working while he was driving on a dangerous road at high speed. Emma gasped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Are you saying someone killed him? I asked. That's exactly what I'm saying, Detective Chen said. David Mitchell was murdered. And I need to know, Do either of you know who would want him dead? Before I could answer, the door to the room burst open. A man stood there, tall, angry-looking, wearing an expensive suit. I want him dead, the man said, staring straight at me. And I think you do too, Sarah. Because David Mitchell ruined both of our lives. Detective Chen stood up. Sir, you can't be in here. Who are you? The man smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. My name is Richard Lopez, he said. And I can prove that both of these women had very good reasons to murder David Mitchell. Detective Chen moved quickly between us and Richard Lopez. Mr. Lopez, you need to leave this room right now, or I'll have you arrested for interfering with a police investigation. Richard Lopez held up his hands. I'm not here to cause trouble, detective. I'm here to help. I have information about David Mitchell that these women need to hear. Information that might explain why someone wanted him dead. And how do you know these women? Detective Chen asked. I don't know them, Richard said. But David talked about them all the time. Especially Sarah. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Anger. Pity. He told me everything. Who are you? I asked. My voice came out as a whisper. I was David's best friend, Richard said. We've known each other since college. And I was helping him plan his escape. Emma stood up so fast her chair fell over. You were helping him? You knew he was married to both of us. And you were helping him leave us? No, Richard said quickly. I didn't know about both of you. I only found out about Emma yesterday, the same way you probably did. David never told me he had 2 wives. Then what did you know? Detective Chen asked. She gestured for everyone to sit down. Richard pulled up a chair. I knew David was in trouble, Richard said. Big trouble. About 6 months ago, he came to me and said he needed help. He said he had made mistakes, terrible mistakes, and he needed to disappear. Start over somewhere new. What kind of mistakes? I asked. Richard looked uncomfortable. Money problems. David was stealing from his company. Both of his companies, actually, the New York office and the California office. He had been doing it for years. Emma and I looked at each other in shock. That's impossible, Emma said. David was good with money. He sent me money every month for our house. He paid all our bills. He sent me money too, I said. We never had financial problems. That's because he was stealing enough for all of you, Richard said. David was embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars. He used fake invoices, dummy accounts, all kinds of tricks. He was good at it. Too good. But about 6 months ago, the company started getting suspicious. They were planning an audit. Detective Chen was taking notes. Do you have proof of this? I have emails. David sent me dozens of emails asking for advice on how to hide money, how to create a new identity, how to disappear. I told him I couldn't help him break the law, but he kept asking. He was desperate. Richard pulled out his phone and started showing Detective Chen emails. I could see some of them from where I sat. They were from David's email address, talking about money, about running away, about starting fresh. Why didn't you go to the police? Detective Chen asked. Because he was my friend, Richard said quietly. We were like brothers. I kept hoping he would turn himself in, do the right thing. But he never did. When did you last talk to him? Detective Chen asked. The day before he died. Thursday night. He called me and said everything was ready. He had moved most of the money to offshore accounts. He said he was leaving on Friday night and we would probably never see each other again. I remembered that phone call. David had gotten a call at 8 o'clock on Friday, looked worried, and said there was an emergency at work. Then he left the house and died. Did he say where he was going? Detective Chen asked. No. He wouldn't tell me. He said it was safer if no one knew. Detective Chen closed her notebook. Mr. Lopez, Why did you say these women had reasons to murder David? Richard looked at Emma and me. Because if David disappeared, you would both be left with nothing. No money, no husband, no answers. You would be the ones blamed for his crimes when the company discovered the missing money. You would lose everything. But we didn't know about any of this, I said. How could we kill him for something we didn't even know about? Maybe you did know, Richard said. Maybe one of you found out what David was doing and decided to stop him before he could run away. That's crazy, Emma said. I loved David. I would never hurt him. I loved him too, I said. But even as I said it, I wondered if it was true. I had loved David. But the David I loved was a lie. The real David was a stranger. Detective Chen held up her hand. Nobody is accusing anyone of anything yet. But I do need to ask both of you some questions. Where were you on Friday night between 6 and 10 p.m.? I was home, I said. Alone. David left around 8, and I stayed home. Can anyone confirm that? No. I was by myself. Detective Chen looked at Emma. And you? I was in New York, Emma said. At home. Also alone. Can anyone confirm that? Emma shook her head. No. David had just left that Monday. I was by myself all week. Detective Chen wrote something down. I'll need to verify both of your alibis. I'll also need to see your financial records, your phone records, everything. Wait, I said. You think one of us killed David? That's insane. We both just found out about each other. We didn't even know the other person existed until today. Actually, Detective Chen said, we need to verify that. You say you didn't know about each other. But maybe that's not true. Maybe one of you found out weeks ago. Maybe you had time to plan. I didn't plan anything, Emma said. She was crying now. I didn't even know Sarah existed until I found David's phone after he died. Same here, I said. I thought David was just cheating on me with some woman. I didn't know he had a whole other wife. Richard spoke up. Detective, there's something else you should know. David had a lot of enemies. The money he stole, some of it belonged to very dangerous people. Detective Chen looked up sharply. What do you mean? David wasn't just stealing from his company. He was also running a side business. He convinced people to invest in fake tech startups. He would take their money and disappear. Some of these people were. Let's just say they weren't the kind of people you want to make angry. Give me names, Detective Chen said. I don't know names. David never told me specifics. But I know there was one investor who found out David had scammed him. The guy was furious. He threatened David. This was about 2 months ago. What kind of threats? Death threats. He said he would kill David if he didn't get his money back. This was getting worse and worse. Not only was David a bigamist and a thief, but he had also scammed dangerous people who wanted him dead. Did David report these threats? Detective Chen asked. No. He couldn't go to the police without admitting what he had done. So he just tried to avoid the guy. But the guy kept finding him. Do you think this person killed David? I asked. Richard shrugged. It's possible. Or maybe it was someone else David had wronged. He had a lot of secrets, a lot of people who might want him dead. Detective Chen stood up. Thank you for this information, Mr. Lopez. I'll need you to come back tomorrow to give an official statement. For now, I need to speak with Mrs. Mitchell and Mrs. Mitchell alone. Richard nodded and left. As he walked out, he looked back at me one more time. Sarah, I'm sorry. David talked about you a lot. He did love you, in his own way. He was just broken inside. The door closed behind him. Detective Chen looked at Emma and me. I need both of you to be completely honest with me. Is there anything else you're not telling me? Anything about your relationship with David, Anything suspicious, anything at all?" Emma and I looked at each other. Then Emma said something that made my blood run cold. "There is one more thing," Emma said quietly. "I didn't mention it before because I didn't think it mattered. But now, I don't know." "What is it?" Detective Chen asked. "On Thursday night, the night before David died, I got a phone call. A woman's voice. She didn't say who she was. She just said, 'Your husband is a liar. He has another family in California. If you don't believe me, check his phone.' Then she hung up. I stared at Emma. "Someone called you?" "Who?" "I don't know." I didn't recognize the voice. I thought it was a prank call, so I didn't check David's phone right away. I didn't want to invade his privacy over some random call. But then, after he died, when the police gave me his phone, I remembered the call and I looked. That's when I found out about you. Do you still have that phone number?" Detective Chen asked. Emma nodded and showed Detective Chen her phone. The detective wrote down the number. "I'll trace this," Detective Chen said. "This could be important." Then she looked at me. "Sarah, did you receive any strange calls or messages before David died?" I thought about it. No, nothing like that. Just the text message I got at the funeral. From Emma. "Actually," Emma said, "I need to tell you about that text. I didn't send it from my regular phone. I used a different number, a temporary phone I bought yesterday. I didn't want you to be able to trace it back to me until I was ready to meet you." "Why?" I asked. "Because I didn't know if you were involved in David's death. For all I knew, you could have killed him. I wanted to be careful." Detective Chen leaned forward. "Emma, where did you get the idea to send that text? That's a very specific message." Emma looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You said, 'I wanted to surprise my husband at his company. At the entrance I learned that he has a wife.' Why did you phrase it that way?" "Because that's what happened. I went to David's office in California once, about 3 years ago. I wanted to surprise him. But when I got to the front desk and asked for David Mitchell, the receptionist looked confused. She said, 'Do you mean David Mitchell in accounting? I didn't know he was married. His wife came by last week.' I realized she was talking about Sarah, even though I didn't know Sarah's name then. That's when I first suspected something was wrong." "Wait," I said. 3 years ago? You knew about me 3 years ago?" "No. I didn't know for sure." The receptionist could have been confused. Maybe she was talking about someone else. I asked David about it, and he said the receptionist must have mixed him up with another employee. "There were 2 David Mitchells at the company," he said. I believed him. But I was thinking about 3 years ago. I had gone to David's office once, 3 years ago. It was our anniversary, and I wanted to surprise him with lunch. I had told the receptionist I was his wife. "It was me," I said. "I went to the office 3 years ago. The receptionist was talking about me." Emma closed her eyes. So it was true. Even back then it was true. Detective Chin made more notes. "This is all very helpful. But I need to ask you something else, Emma. If you suspected something 3 years ago, why did you send that text to Sarah at David's funeral? Why that specific message? And why at that exact time?" "I told you. I wanted her to know the truth. I wanted. But how did you know there would be a funeral?" Detective Chen interrupted. "How did you know Sarah would be at the funeral? David died in California, but you're in New York. The funeral arrangements were handled by Sarah and David's California family. You weren't contacted. So how did you even know about the funeral?" Emma's face went pale. I looked it up online. I saw the obituary. The obituary didn't mention the funeral time or location. Those details were only shared with family and close friends. Emma stood up. "What are you saying? Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm asking how you knew when and where the funeral was." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I hired a private investigator. After I found out about Sarah, I hired someone to find out everything about her. He told me about the funeral. When did you hire this investigator? On Saturday, the day after David died. That's very fast, Detective Chen said. Most people wouldn't think to hire a private investigator the day after their spouse dies. I needed answers, Emma said. My husband had died in another state with another woman. What was I supposed to do? Detective Chen looked at me. Sarah, where were you on Thursday night? The night before David died. I was home. I already told you that. All night. I thought back. Thursday night. David had come home from work. We had dinner. Then. Wait, I said. I did go out. Just for an hour. I went to the grocery store around 7 p.m. Which grocery store? The one on Maple Street. About 10 minutes from my house. Can anyone confirm you were there? I don't know. I paid with my credit card. There would be a record. Detective Chen wrote that down. I'll check. Emma, you said you were home alone all night Thursday. But is there any way to verify that? Any phone calls you made, any online purchases, anything? Emma shook her head. I don't think so. I was just watching TV and feeling lonely because David had just left. Actually, Detective Chen said, I already checked your phone records. You made a call on Thursday night at 9 p.m. California time. Midnight New York time. The call lasted 3 minutes. Who did you call? Emma looked shocked. I don't remember making any call that late. I was probably asleep by then. The records don't lie. You called a California number. A number registered to a prepaid phone. I don't know anything about that, Emma said. She was starting to panic. I was panicking too. Nothing made sense. Emma had called someone in California the night before David died? Who? Why? Detective Chen pulled out another piece of paper. I have one more thing to show both of you. We found this in David's car. It survived the crash. She put the paper on the table. It was a handwritten note. David's handwriting. The note said, I'm sorry for everything. I can't keep living this lie. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't try to find me. D. Emma started crying. He was going to kill himself. David was going to commit suicide. Maybe, Detective Chen said. Or maybe someone wanted us to think that. Maybe someone put this note in his car after cutting his brakes. Maybe someone wanted David's death to look like a suicide. But who? I asked. Detective Chen looked at both of us. That's what I need to find out. And until I do, neither of you can leave town. You're both persons of interest in this investigation. You think we killed him, Emma said. You think one of us murdered David. I think someone did, Detective Chen said. And right now, you two had the most to gain from his death. Just then, another detective knocked on the door and whispered something to Detective Chen. Her face changed. What is it? I asked. Detective Chen looked at me. Sarah, we just got a warrant to search your house. And we found something hidden in your basement. A burner phone. With calls made to David's number the week he died. Including a call on Friday night, right before the accident. My heart stopped. That's impossible. I don't have a burner phone. I've never had a burner phone. Then how did it get in your house? I don't know. Someone must have put it there. Someone is trying to frame me. But even as I said it, I saw the look on Detective Chen's face. She didn't believe me. Emma was staring at me with fear in her eyes. Sarah, did you kill David? No. I swear, I didn't. I loved him. Even after I found out he was cheating, I still loved him. I would never kill him. Detective Chen stood up. Sarah Mitchell, I'm placing you under arrest for the murder of David Mitchell. You have the right to remain silent." The rest of her words blurred together. This couldn't be happening. I didn't kill David. I didn't. But someone wanted me to look guilty. As the detective put handcuffs on my wrists, I looked at Emma. She was still sitting at the table, tears running down her face. And for just a second, I saw something in her eyes. Something that looked like satisfaction. I spent the night in a jail cell. A real jail cell with metal bars and a thin mattress and a toilet in the corner. I couldn't believe this was happening. 24 hours ago, I was burying my husband. Now I was arrested for his murder. I didn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about everything. About David's lies. About Emma's face when they arrested me. About that look in her eyes. Satisfaction. Why would Emma look satisfied to see me arrested? Unless she was the one who killed David. Unless she was the one who put that burner phone in my house to frame me. But how? Emma lived in New York. How could she have gotten into my house in California? The more I thought about it, the less sense it made. In the morning, a guard came and told me I had a visitor. It was Jenny. Sarah. Jenny ran to the glass partition and picked up the phone. I picked up the phone on my side. I can't believe this is happening. I called my cousin. He's a lawyer. He's coming to help you. Jenny, I didn't kill David. You have to believe me. I know you didn't. But Sarah, there's something I need to tell you. Something about that day you followed David. What do you mean? Jenny looked uncomfortable. You told me you followed him to a White House and saw him kiss a woman. The woman with dark hair. Yes. Emma. His other wife. Are you sure it was Emma? I thought back to that night. I had been so upset, so shocked. I had been watching from far away, sitting in my car down the street. Yes, I'm sure. She had long dark hair, just like Emma. And it was the same house Emma described. Her house. But did you see her face clearly? I tried to remember. The woman had been standing in the doorway. The porch light was on behind her, making her face harder to see. And I had been crying, my vision blurry. I think so. Why are you asking me this? Because I did some research last night after you were arrested. I looked up David's company, Innovate Solutions. I looked at their employee directory. And, Sarah, there's a woman who works there. Her name is Jessica Parker. She has long dark hair. And she lives in a White House with blue shutters. I found her address on a People search website. The same neighborhood you described. My mind was spinning. J. Parker. The messages on David's phone were from someone named J. Parker, client. That's what I thought. What if J. Parker wasn't Emma? What if David was actually having an affair with this Jessica Parker? But Emma said David came to her house that night. She said it was her house. What if Emma was lying? What if she knew about Jessica and pretended it was her house? Why would she do that? Jenny leaned closer to the glass. Think about it, Sarah. Emma showed up right after David's death. She had all this information about you, about the funeral. She had a private investigator. She knew things she shouldn't have known. What if Emma killed David and is now trying to frame you for it? I thought about the burner phone found in my house. About Emma's strange phone call on Thursday night. About the satisfied look in her eyes. But how would she get into my house to plant the phone? I asked. Do you remember giving anyone a key recently? A repairman, a cleaner, anyone? I thought back. There was a plumber. About 2 weeks ago. David called him because our kitchen sink was broken. He came while I was at work. David let him in. What if it wasn't really a plumber? What if Emma hired someone to get into your house and plant evidence? It sounded crazy. But everything about the last few days was crazy. Jenny, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find out everything you can about Emma Mitchell. where she really was on Friday night, whether she has an alibi, and find Jessica Parker. Ask her about David. I'm on it, Jenny said. That afternoon, Jenny's cousin, a lawyer named Marcus Reed, came to see me. He was a young man with glasses and a serious expression. Ms. Mitchell, I've reviewed your case. The evidence against you is concerning. The burner phone found in your house, the timing, your lack of alibi. But I believe we can fight this. I didn't do it, I said. I believe you. But we need to prove it. Now, tell me everything about Emma Mitchell. I told him about meeting Emma, about her story, about how she claimed to be David's wife. Here's what doesn't make sense, Marcus said. If Emma is David's legal wife, and she is, since she married him first, then she would inherit everything when David died. His life insurance, his assets, everything. She would benefit most from his death. She mentioned the life insurance. $2 million. Exactly. So if anyone had a financial motive to kill David, it was Emma, not you. You wouldn't get anything because your marriage to David wasn't legal. That was true. I hadn't even thought about money. I was too focused on the betrayal, the lies. But what about the burner phone? I asked. We'll argue it was planted. If we can prove Emma had access to your house, or that she hired someone to break in, we can create reasonable doubt. Just then, a guard came to the door. Ms. Mitchell has another visitor. Who? Marcus asked. Someone named Emma Mitchell. My heart started pounding. Emma was here. Why? I need to see her, I said. I don't think that's a good idea, Marcus said. Please. Maybe she'll say something that helps my case. Marcus reluctantly agreed. A few minutes later, Emma was sitting on the other side of the glass. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red and puffy, like she had been crying for hours. Her hair was messy. She was still wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Sarah, she said. Her voice was shaking. I need to tell you the truth. What truth? I lied to you. About some things. Not everything, but some things. My hands gripped the phone tighter. What did you lie about? I did know about you before David died. Not 3 years ago. That part was true. I really did suspect something back then. But I found out for sure 2 months ago. How? I hired a private investigator back then. He followed David around California. He took pictures of you and David together. He found your address, your workplace, everything. I've known about you for 2 months. I felt sick. Why didn't you confront David? Because I wanted to catch him in the act. I wanted proof of everything before I confronted him. The investigator was helping me build a case for divorce. I was going to take David for everything he had. But then he died. Yes. And when he died, I panicked. I realized that if people found out I knew about you, they might think I killed him. So I pretended I just found out. I pretended to be shocked. What about the phone call? Someone called you on Thursday night warning you about David. Was that real? Emma looked down. No. I made that up. I was trying to make it seem like someone else knew about David's double life. Someone who might have killed him. So you were trying to frame someone else for murder? No. I just wanted to protect myself. I didn't kill David. I swear I didn't. Then why are you telling me this now? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Because I found something this morning. Something that proves I didn't kill David. And something that proves you didn't either. She pulled out her phone and showed me a video through the glass. It was security camera footage. This is from the gate at my neighborhood in New York, Emma said. It records everyone who comes in and out. Look at the timestamp. The video showed a car entering the neighborhood. The timestamp said Friday night, 9:47 p.m. Eastern Time. That was 6:47 p.m. California time. Right around when David had left my house. The car that entered was David's car. David was driving. He came back to New York that night, Emma said. After he left your house, he must have caught a late flight. He arrived at our house around 10 p.m. We had an argument. About what? About you. I confronted him. I told him I knew everything. I showed him the pictures from the private investigator. I told him I wanted a divorce and I was going to destroy him. Emma was crying hard now. He got so angry. He said I was ruining everything. He said he was supposed to leave that night, start his new life, but now he couldn't because I knew too much. We screamed at each other for an hour. Then he got back in his car and left. He said he needed to drive and think. I stared at the video. What time did he leave your house? Around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 8:30 p.m. California Time. David had died around 9 p.m. California Time when his car went off the bridge. But how did he get back to California so fast? There's no way he could catch a flight and drive to that bridge in 30 minutes. Emma shook her head. He didn't go back to California. The accident happened on Route 17 in New York. Not in California. Everything stopped. What? I whispered. The police told me the accident happened in California because that's where David lived. But I looked up the actual location. Riverside Bridge is in New York. David died in New York, Sarah. Not California. Marcus had been listening to everything. Wait. The police report said the accident was in California. They made a mistake, Emma said. Or someone lied. I have the real police report here. She held up papers. David Mitchell died at 11:43 p.m. Eastern Time on Route 17 in New York. His car went off Riverside Bridge near my house. My head was spinning. Then who was killed in California? Who was at the California funeral? That's what I'm trying to tell you, Emma said. I don't think David is dead. The room went silent. What are you talking about? I finally said. I saw his body. We had a funeral. Did you actually see his face? Emma asked. You said the casket was closed because the accident was too terrible. I thought back. The casket had been closed. The funeral director said the body was too damaged to view. But I had just accepted it. David's mother had identified the body at the hospital. She said it was him. His mother identified him, I said. Are you sure? Emma asked. Or did someone just tell you that she did? I tried to remember. Detective Chan had told me David's mother identified the body. But I had never actually talked to David's mother about it. She was too upset at the funeral. Marcus spoke up. Ms. Mitchell, are you suggesting that David Mitchell faked his own death? Yes, Emma said. Think about it. David was planning to disappear anyway. He had money hidden away. He had a new identity planned. What if he decided to stage his death instead of just running away? Then no one would look for him. But someone died, I said. There was a body in that car. What if it wasn't David? Emma said. What if he killed someone else and made it look like he died in the accident? My blood ran cold. Who would he kill? I don't know. But David knew a lot of dangerous people. People he had scammed. Maybe he killed one of them and put the body in his car. Maybe that's why the body was too damaged to identify, because it wasn't really him. This is insane, I said. But part of me was starting to believe it. There's more, Emma said. I got a call this morning. From David's phone. That's impossible. David's phone was destroyed in the crash. That's what they told us. But someone called me from his number. They didn't say anything. They just breathed into the phone for a few seconds and then hung up. Like they wanted me to know they were alive. I felt like I was going to pass out. Could David really be alive? Could he have faked his own death and framed me for his murder? Marcus stood up. I need to talk to Detective Chen immediately. If David Mitchell is alive, This changes everything. Within an hour, I was out of my cell and sitting in Detective Chen's office. Emma was there too, along with Marcus and another detective. Detective Chen looked exhausted. "I've been investigating your theory, Ms. Mitchell. And I've found something disturbing." She pulled up a photo on her computer. "This is the body that was identified as David Mitchell. We took fingerprints at the morgue." She showed us the fingerprint results. "These prints don't match David Mitchell's prints on file with his employer. They're not even close." "So it's not David," I said. "It's not David," Detective Chen confirmed. "We ran the prints through our database. They belong to a man named Marcus Chen. No relation to me. He was a known criminal, involved in fraud and identity theft. He went missing 3 weeks ago." "David killed him," Emma whispered. "It looks that way. We found evidence that David hired Marcus Chen to help create his new identity. They met several times. We think David killed Marcus, put his body in the car, and staged the accident. He probably used dental records and physical characteristics similar to his own to make the identification convincing." "But David's mother identified the body," I said. "We talked to David's mother this morning. She said she never actually saw the body. A hospital staff member told her it was too damaged to view and asked her to identify personal items instead. A watch, a wallet. She confirmed those items belonged to David, so she assumed the body was his." "The hospital staff member was probably working with David," Marcus said. Detective Chen nodded. "We're looking into it. But here's what we know for sure. David Mitchell is alive. He faked his death. He framed Sarah for murder to create confusion and buy himself time to disappear. And he almost got away with it." "Where is he now?" I asked. "We don't know. But we're looking. We've put out warrants, alerted airports and borders. We'll find him." Emma looked at me. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. For lying to you. For not telling you everything from the start. Why did you really come forward?" I asked. "Why did you tell the truth?" "Because when I got that phone call this morning, the one from David's number, I realized something. David is not the man I thought he was. He's dangerous. He's evil. He killed someone to fake his own death. And if he could do that, he could kill us too. We're the only people who know his secrets. We're loose ends." She was right. If David was alive and wanted to truly disappear, Emma and I were liabilities. "We need police protection," I said. Detective Chen nodded. "I'm assigning officers to both of you. Until we catch David, you're both in danger." 3 days passed. 3 long, terrifying days. I stayed at Jenny's house with a police officer stationed outside. Emma stayed at a hotel in California. She said she didn't feel safe going back to New York where David might be looking for her. The police searched everywhere for David. They checked his bank accounts, but he had already moved all his money. They checked airports, but he had probably left the country already using his fake identity. On the 4th day, Jenny and I were watching the news when a special report came on. Breaking news. A man believed to be David Mitchell has been arrested at the Mexican border attempting to cross into Guatemala. Police say Mitchell faked his own death and is wanted for fraud, embezzlement, and murder. They showed footage of a man in handcuffs being led away by police. It was David. He looked different, shorter hair, glasses, a beard. But it was definitely him. I started crying. Not because I was sad, but because it was finally over. David was caught. I was safe. 2 weeks later, I met with Emma one last time. We sat in the same coffee shop where we had first met, both of us looking less broken than before. "The police told me David confessed to everything," Emma said. "The fraud, the embezzlement, killing Marcus Chen, faking his death. He said he never meant to hurt us. He just wanted to start over. He destroyed our lives," I said. "Both of our lives." "I know. But at least it's over now." We sat in silence for a moment. "What are you going to do now?" Emma asked. I'm going to sell the house. Move somewhere new. Start fresh. Maybe change my name back to Wilson. I'm staying in California for a while, Emma said. I found a job at a hospital here. I can't go back to New York. Too many memories. What about the life insurance? Emma smiled sadly. The insurance company isn't paying out. They say David committed fraud by faking his death. So neither of us gets anything. I don't want his money anyway, I said. Me neither. We stood up to leave. At the door, Emma turned to me. Sarah, I know this sounds strange, but, through all of this, you're the only person who really understands what I went through. What we both went through. I know what you mean. Maybe someday, when this isn't so fresh, we could be friends. Real friends. I thought about it. Emma had lied to me. But she had also saved me by telling the truth when it mattered. We had both been victims of David's lies. Maybe, I said. Someday. We hugged, briefly, and then went our separate ways. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment in Portland, Oregon. It was small but cozy, with big windows that let in lots of light. I had a new job at a new school. A new life. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Sarah, it's Richard Lopez. I hadn't heard from Richard since the investigation ended. What do you want? I wanted to apologize. For my part in all of this. I should have stopped David. I should have gone to the police. Yes, you should have. I know. I'm calling because David wants to talk to you. He's in prison awaiting trial. He asked me to give you a message. I don't want to hear anything from David. He said to tell you that he really did love you. That you weren't just part of the con. That you were real to him. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, tell David that I don't care. Tell him that the man I loved never existed. And tell him that I hope he spends the rest of his life in prison thinking about all the people he hurt. I hung up. I walked to my window and looked out at the city. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. David was in my past now. The lies, the betrayal, the horror. All of it was behind me. I had survived. And now, finally, I could start living again.